Let me introduce you to our Holy Week reflections. Every day this week, various different members of our church from different locations are going to be taking us through the story of Jesus from the Last Supper through to his crucifixion and burial, as told in the Gospel of John. What they're going to do is read from the Bible, reflect on their own experience and bring some teaching. There may be some creative elements, and we're going to end each time with one of our musicians leading us in a song and with a chance for us to take communion, to take bread and wine together, which is what Jesus said to his friends. He said, whenever you drink wine, whenever you eat bread, do it in remembrance of me. Remember me. And he was saying, remember what I have done for you. He was referencing a meal that was celebrated because of an event many years before, where the people of Israel were imprisoned, enslaved, locked down under death. An angel passed over them, and anyone who wanted to be part of God's family was then set free. And so from that time onwards, the Israelites used to celebrate this with the Passover meal, and they would drink wine, they would eat bread and remember God rescuing them. There's a big story at work that has gone on for many generations across all the nations of the earth, where God is setting people free from huge things and from small things. And Jesus says, I want you to join in with this big story of God. He said that to his friends. He says that to us now. And so that's what we're going to do every day of Holy Week up until Easter Sunday. So I encourage you to join in. I encourage you to have bread and wine to hand so that you can reflect, you can take in Jesus for yourself, and that together as a church we will learn from one another. Let me hand you over today to the next instalment of the story of Jesus.
Hi, my name's Sam and I'm the youth team leader at Rising Brook Community Church. We're in some really interesting times that no one in this generation has experienced, and it is just crazy. I mean, in the words of Boris Johnson and every politician there is, it's unprecedented. I mean, I started a puzzle 3 weeks ago and I still haven't finished it. And I've developed a love of Desert Island Discs on Radio 4. It is just phenomenal. Next week, some of us would have been travelling. We would have been travelling to spend time with some of our loved ones. Or for a few of us, we would have been travelling to Skegness to go to Spring Harvest. Not now. We're having to move online. You know, at this very moment, I should have been travelling back from a weekend in Bournemouth with my mum, my dad, my nephew and my sister. We'd had so many things planned. We were going to go crabbing at Mudford Quay. We were going to get lost on walks in the New Forest. And then one of us was probably going to throw up on the ferry crossing back from the Isle of Wight. At the start of this Holy Week, as we look to the journey of Jesus, from the Last Supper to the day he rises again, let's stop. Breathe. Look around us. What are you noticing? Is there silence? Can you hear the birds? Are the kids playing in the background? Just stop and take it in. Today I'm going to be reflecting on the early part of John 13. This is the Last Supper. Jesus is having his last meal with his disciples. He's washed their feet. He shares communion with them. All this whilst knowing what was about to happen. That he would be betrayed and put to death on the cross.
Hello, I'm Nathan, and this is the first reading. This is John 13, verses 3 to 5. Jesus knew that God had put all things into his power, that he had come from God, and he was returning to God. So he stood up from the meal, removed his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around his waist.
Here we see Jesus washing all of his disciples' feet. Even Judas, the same Judas who was going to betray him. At this very moment, we're in a crazy situation where we can't literally wash people's feet. I mean, you can if you can do it from 2 meters away. But there are other ways that we can wash people's feet. Because Jesus washing people's feet is the same as us caring for others. Showing care is showing them love. There are so many different ways that we can do that now. Just because we're in lockdown doesn't mean that we can't do it. There's this phrase that I'm going to keep coming back to, and it's apart but together. Apart but together. It could be the little things that we do, like signing up to be a volunteer for the NHS, where you can simply have a natter on the phone with others who have no one to have a natter with. It could be connecting with that friend that you haven't spoken to for a couple of weeks, or a couple of months, or even a couple of years. Reach out. You never know that could be what they need at that moment. It could be a few extra tins the next time you're out. Drop them off to Liz in the food bag. You could even stay and help pack food parcels, or even take a load and deliver them. We may not be able to literally wash people's feet at the moment, but we can still do the act of washing people's feet.
This is John chapter 3 verses 26 to 27, and it is the second reading of today. Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." Then, dipping the bread into the dish, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered his body. Jesus told him, "What you are about to do it quickly."
Judas shared in the Last Supper. Jesus still washed Judas's feet, even though he knew what Judas was about to do. We may be locked down on our own, or we may be locked down with other people, but I know from first-hand experience that being stuck in a house with the same people for a long time can be difficult at some point. Which is why we need to be apart, but together. Connecting with people outside your home could help you with connecting with people within your home. Let's be frank here. There's someone in your house that's probably a bit annoying at times. It could be a brother, a sister, a son or daughter. The washing up hasn't been done yet. The washing hasn't been put away yet. With stuff like this, we can feel anger bubbling up. But in these situations, we need to think like Jesus. We need to show the love to people and the grace to people that Jesus showed Judas. Because remember, even though he knew that Judas was going to betray him, he still loved him. We can do this in a variety of ways. We can show people grace in the situation that creates peace, calm and love. Letting things fly, though we may not usually. Let's take a step back. Let's stop. Let's breathe and think. Is this really worth it? On Facebook the other day, I saw a picture, and it was a depiction of the Last Supper. You know the one, the old fancy one that Da Vinci painted, with all the disciples on a big long table with Jesus in the middle. Only this version was on Zoom. Look, let's have a look. It's on the screen now. You can see it in this picture. You can see the disciples all up at the box, in their boxes, and then you can see Jesus in the middle hosting the Zoom. Okay. Now, recently, I feel like I've become a bit of a pro of Zoom. I've hosted Zoom quizzes. I've been part of Zoom quizzes. Last Thursday, I had a Zoom small group session. And on Friday night, we launched our first Youth Central online via Zoom. The internet is an amazing tool. I was chatting to my brother the other day, and he's been designated a key worker. As many of you know, when I start to think, you can tell on my face. Just think a bit like Winnie the Pooh with the old thinking fist that he does. And I looked at him on Skype, and I said, "Why are you a key worker?" He's an area manager for BT Openreach. And then he looked at me and he said this to me. "You're in self-isolation, on your own. How would you feel if your internet packs in?" At which point my thinking face disappears. "Oh yeah, I see what you mean." We are in a season of oneness. We are in a season at the moment of being with few people. We're apart, but together. This Easter, I encourage you to find people to be with. Set up a Zoom account. Get on to Facebook Messenger. Open up your FaceTime. Log in to WhatsApp. You know that thing in the corner of your living room that's been gathering dust? That's the home phone. Pick that up. Give someone a call. As I said earlier, a politician's favourite word at the moment is unprecedented. We're in unprecedented times. But we are also in exciting times, because we're in this season at the moment where we can connect or even reconnect with people. We can virtually wash people's feet. We're going to go in to a time of communion now. Jesus did this at the Last Supper. He did communion with his disciples. He broke the bread and said to them, "This is my body for you." And he gave it out to each of them one by one. He then poured the wine and said, "This is my blood poured out for you." As a community and as a church, we take communion regularly. When we do this in our different locations, we're apart, but we're together. Hannah Thompson is going to sing a song for us now called Remembrance. As she sings this song, take communion in your home. It doesn't need to be the fanciest of wine. Some Vimto will do. It doesn't even need to be a fancy loaf of bread. If this is your first time, don't panic. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is between you and God. I mean, I took communion once. It was in I was brand new to this church, and I was the very first person up. And I was given this massive cup. And I looked at it and I took it up to my mouth and I went to carefully take a sip. But as people know, when I get nervous, I overthink things. And I started to drink this wine, but I ended up slurping so loudly that everyone stared at me. If I'd realised, I could have dipped the wafer in instead. If this is your first time doing it as a family, the CYF team would love to know how you got on. And if you're not sure how to really explain this, let us know. Pop us an email and we can send over some resources. At the start of this Holy Week, where we will remember the journey that Jesus took, where on Friday we will stand at the cross, and on Sunday we will stand at the entrance of the open tomb. Remember that whatever situation you're in right now, whether you're isolated on your own or with your family, worried about doing the food shop, on the way to help the food bank at church, remember that in these moments we are Christ's body. We are his church, his bride. We are his people. We are apart but together. This is a tough time, but God is working through it and working through you. We are apart but together.
I take the bread of life. so, so good to me. Oh, to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you. You've been so, so good to me. You've been so, so good to me. Oh, to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you. You've been so, so good to me. You've been so, so good to me. And to think where I would be if not for you, if not for you. As far as hearts reach from the depths, as far as east is from the west, before your grace has carried me. Until I see you face to face, until at last I've won my race. Remind me you're not finished yet. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'll live in remembrance.
Jesus, thank you that you love us. Thank you that in these unprecedented times you are with us and you are surrounding us with your love every single day. Lord, remind us that you are with us, that you are for us, and that you love us, Lord. You are great, you are kind, and you are so, so good. Help us as our families to connect, help us as friends to connect, as small groups, as clusters, as youth groups, as kids groups, Lord. Help us to connect. Help us to be apart, but together. Amen. Thank you for watching today. There'll be another one out tomorrow, and I'll see you soon. See you later.